I know Coach Bell through some mutual friends, and kind of just built a relationship with him over the last probably 6 to 8 years. Got a couple, friends that are near and dear to us that very close, and just got to know him through mutual acquaintances, and then I got to know Coach Darbo as well through that, and I was able to, talk with Coach Narduzzi a couple of years back when I was at Virginia Tech as well. And Coach Bell, and just kind of maintain that relationship, and so that's a big part of the reason why I'm here. Coach Bell believing in me, and just having that relationship with mutual friends.
What was the draw to come to Pitt for you?
Well, I mean, one of the big draws is just the history and tradition of this place. We competed against him when I was at Virginia Tech. Coach Narduzzi and the things he's able to do throughout his career, the class with which this program does everything. And then when I got here, there's so many things that I didn't even know existed about this program, and so many people that played here, and things that people that had come before me. You get here and you find out there's 11 guys in the NFL Hall of Fame. And I didn't know there were 9 national championships here. If there's an award they give out in college football, like, we got a copy of it, and then somebody won it here. I was in Coach LaSala's office the other day, and he's got a Blitnikoff trophy sitting on the floor. And I said, man, we got to put that up somewhere. He goes, that's okay, we got a couple more. And just phenomenal lineage of people that have been part of this program. I walked into the tight end meeting room the first day, and I didn't realize Mike Ditka played here, and played tight end here, and was an All-American, and then obviously a Hall of Famer. And then to come here and the way that we do things, and the concern for our players, and the way that Coach Narduzzi develops young men, it's not happening everywhere anymore in college football. It's special, it really is. And so people may say, you guys are 8-4 last year, but the stat that I know is that in the last 12 years, there's been 184 guys come through here that finished their eligibility, and he's 184-0 in graduating guys. And so if you want to bet, there's not a better stat in college football than that. And so you walk into a living room and you talk to a parent, and you want to recruit and try to attract their son, to come somewhere that's about the right things. I mean, bam, that hits you in the face right there. That's the best stat that we have.
So tight end is a position that's evolved quite a bit over the years, over the recent years.
Sure.
Just curious, what do you think the ideal skill set is for a tight end these days?
Yeah, that's a great question, because when I played it, my hand was down. You were almost an extra offensive lineman that could run down the seam every now and then, catch the football. It's a different world. I laugh with the guys in that room all the time about that. Versatility. I think the tight end position is a very developmental position nowadays, where there's a very select few guys in the country that are already big enough and strong enough in high school to come in and play the position. So a lot of times you're talking about taking a wide receiver, taking a big quarterback, taking a guy who's an athlete, that's a really good basketball player, and developing them physically to a point where they can do all of the jobs. But I think it's a guy with some length. We've had guys with long arms, and that can, when you have that length, you can make up for any other deficiency. Sometimes you're not quite fast enough, or whatever. You get the balls you normally couldn't get to. At tight end, it's kind of unique, because you're always going to be a little bit too small to block in the box. You're a little bit too slow in theory to separate from people on the perimeter when you're in space. But you're good enough at everything in order to do those jobs. And so finding that skill set, it's like being an athlete almost. There's very few people that can do all those different skills. And so guys that are very versatile, I think that'd be the #1 skill set. I think it takes a lot of football IQ, to play tight end, where you're asking a guy to learn all the blocking schemes and also all the pass concepts, and, oh, by the way, come in here and pass protect. And that's a big challenge. That's something that I really embrace about coaching the position, and really trying to get the room to embrace that we're going to be, jacks of all trades and masters of all the trades, and to embrace doing those jobs. One thing to talk about it, but really to embrace doing those jobs. But yeah, I think a guy that's got some versatility and can operate in space, that's a good starting point. I like guys that play basketball, and then you can take them and develop them into 250-pound men 2 years later. So.
How does your experience at Virginia Tech coaching both tight end and offensive line kind of feed into that approach?
I coached offensive line probably the most in my career. I was a coordinator for 17 years consecutively, which I think hopefully gives me a good overall perception of how defenses work, and maybe that's a skill set that I have that maybe might be a little different from other tight end coaches. Hopefully, I've coached every position on offense throughout my career. Now I've coached quarterbacks for 4 years, so. But as far as offensive line, relating to tight, I think it really helps in the run game for sure. When we have extra time, we're going to work on the fundamentals of blocking, because at the end of the day, if we can't be relied on in situations to move people and cover people up and block people with good fundamentals, then we're going to have a hard time being efficient on offense. If you ask a kid to go out there and get extra work in, what do you think they're going to do most of the time? They're going to go out there and catch footballs, because that's fun. Sometimes the hard part is to put your hand down and move somebody against their will, and so I think having that background hopefully helps with that. And then being in a spread offense, for the last 2 years, and being around basically the receiver room and having to teach a guy to play slot receiver as well, that's a great challenge. It's something that I really enjoy.
You mentioned the long relationship with Kade Bell. Did you previously watch any of his offense here at Pitt, and just how he uses the tight ends, and just what have you learned so far about that?
Sure, absolutely. And we studied him at Virginia Tech. The first year that he was here. Studied a lot of things that guys were doing here. I know we had 83 targets to the tight end last year and 82 the year before. And I don't know if that's got to be in the top 5 combined for the last 2 years in college football. I know it's been in the top 20 both years, but you combine it, it's got to be in the top 5. So it's an integral part of the offense, he's very creative. I knew him in Western Carolina. When they were there, averaged 50 points a game. One of my best friends was coordinator with him at Valdosta. When they were down there, averaged 50 points a game. As a matter of fact, I don't know if he's never not averaged 30 a game as a coordinator. I think he's never not thrown 25 touchdowns as well. So the ability to learn from him and the passing game, the things that he does, and how he moves guys around and manipulates coverage and gets matchups and hides people. We're able to play with smaller, faster guys, that maybe didn't get recruited by some other people that are special in his offense, because he gets them in good matchups and good situations and doesn't need a 6'5" wide receiver. There's like 5 of those in the country that can run, and so we can take a guy that maybe a little bit smaller that wasn't as attractive to somebody else. It's a perfect fit for what he does.
Brent, how did your time at Army impact your career and your thought process?
It was significant. It's a phenomenal place. Being there, the things that the kids are going to do when they leave there, and I'll be honest, I was earlier in my career as a coordinator, I was about ball all the time, and it was just football, and I loved the kids and all that, but I never really thought about trying to push and develop people as leaders until I got there. And I'm standing in front of an offense like this, and there's 80 people on the offense, and I'm thinking these guys got to go out and lead men and women at 24 years old in very dangerous situations. You got to give them more. You got to talk about leadership and help them develop as leaders. And one of the things I'm most proud of in my career, I coached offensive line there as well. And there's been more than 30 guys go through Ranger School that I coached there that played offensive line, and they've all made it through. And I'm not saying I had anything to do with that, but hopefully, having the culture and the work ethic and that we tried to instill in them, and then hopefully that'll carry over into their troops a little bit. Because those guys are doing some really important stuff. And there's guys that are going to be generals, that I was fortunate enough to coach there, and we were able to have a lot of success. And it was very impactful.
That's a very distinct style of offense, and Kade runs a very distinct style of offense. Are there things you can bring from that here? And was that even something Kade said to you, that he wanted you to bring some of those elements?
That's a great question, and some people think you're coaching a different sport when you're coaching that style of offense, to be honest with you, but you find out that you're not. And really, it's about creating matchups, creating numbers advantages, creating angles, reading people where you don't have to block people to the point of attack, and then when people make it unfair by rolling the coverage, by blitzing, like having answers and replacing people with perimeter answers or whatever it might be, it's the same. It really it's just, we were under center, we're 5 yards back in the shotgun. But a lot of the principles are the same, a lot of the blocking schemes are the same. And I think, one of the things he talked to me about was just maybe helping Coach Darbo with the run game some, and being able to, continue to get better with that, to continue to help with short yardage, and help with, not necessarily taking us in a different direction, but help maybe keep things shored up a little bit. And so I'm excited to, first of all, before I can help in any way, I've got to learn the offense, and then I've got to build a relationship with the guys in the tight end room and work on the culture in there, right? Which I think there's great people in there, but like before we can worry about any of that, like it's my job to learn how we do things and learn the system. And so I'm not there yet, but I will be.
What have been your early impressions of the guys on the tight end room?
Great people. And we brought in 2 new guys, really 3, because there's a true freshman that's here that really should still be in high school, Wyatt Volario, and then two transfers. And those guys have embraced them like they've been in there for 4 years. And we've gotten together a lot, gone out to eat, and done some things, and really enjoyed it. But they're teaching me, the guys that have been here. And so, and then the other 3, the rest of us are learning at the same time. And but just the attitude that they have, the way they've embraced me and helped me. I'm, like I said, I'm learning from them at the same time. And but they're phenomenal people. They handle their business on a day-to-day basis. I love their attitudes, and I'm excited to work with them. Really.
Anything else?